Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my series, Great Expectations. Without further ado, returning to Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I strained my sight upon the sparks that fell among the tinder, and upon which he breathed and breathed, match in hand, but I could only see his lips and the blue point of the match, even those but fitfully. The tinder was damp, no wonder there, and all one after another the sparks died out. The man was in no hurry, and struck again with the flint and steel. As the sparks fell thick and bright about him, I could see his hands and touches of his face, and could make out that he was seated, bending over the table, but nothing more. Presently I saw his blue lips again, breathing on the tinder, and then a flash of light flashed up and showed me Orlick. Whom I had looked for, I don't know. I had not looked for him. Seeing him, I felt that I was in a dangerous strait, indeed, and I kept my eyes upon him. He lighted the candle from the flaring match with great deliberation, and dropped the match and trod it out. Then he put the candle away from him on the table, so that he could see me, and sat with his arms folded on the table and looked at me. I made out that I was fastened to a stout perpendicular ladder a few inches from the wall, a fixture there, the means of ascent to the loft above. "Now," said he, when we surveyed one another for some time, "I've got you. Unbind me. Let me go." "Ah," he returned, "I'll let you go. I'll let you go to the moon. I'll let you go to the stars, all in good time. Why have you lured me here?" "Don't you know?" said he, with a deadly look. "Why have you set upon me in the dark?" "Because I mean to do it all myself. One keeps a secret better than two. Oh, you enemy, you enemy!" His enjoyment of the spectacle I furnished, as he sat with his arms folded on the table, shaking his head at me, and hugging himself, had a malignity in it that made me tremble. As I watched him in silence, he put his hand into the corner at his side, and took up a gun with a brass-bound stock. "Do you know this?" said he, making as if he would take aim at me. "Do you know where you saw it afore? Speak, Wolf!" "Yes," I answered. "You cost me that place. You did." "Speak!" "What else could I do?" "You did that. And that would be enough, without more. How dared you come betwixt me and a young woman I liked?" "When did I?" "When didn't you? It was you as always give old Orlick a bad name to her." "You gave it yourself. You gained it for yourself. I could have done you no harm, if you had done yourself none." "You're a liar, and you'll take any pains, and spend any money, to drive me out of this country. Will you?" said he, repeating my words to Biddy in the last interview I had with her. "Now, I'll tell you a piece of information. It was never so well worth your while to get me out of this country as it is tonight. Ah, if it was all your money 20 times told, to the last brass farden," as he shook his heavy hand at me, with his mouth snarling like a tiger's. I felt that it was true. "What are you going to do to—" "I'm a-going," said he, bringing his fist down upon the table with a heavy blow, and rising as the blow fell, to give it greater force. "I'm a-going to have your life." He leaned forward, staring at me, slowly unclenched his hand, and drew it across his mouth as if his mouth watered for me, and sat down again.
You was always in old Orlick's way, ever since you was a child. You goes out of his way this present night. He'll have no more on you. You're dead.
I felt that I had come to the brink of my grave. For a moment I looked wildly around my trap for any chance of escape, but there was none.
More than that,
Said he, folding his arms on the table again.
I won't have a rag of you. I won't have a bone of you left on earth. I'll put your body in the kiln. I'd carry two such to it, on my shoulders, and let people suppose what they may of you. They shall never know nothing.
My mind, with inconceivable rapidity, followed out all the consequences of such a death. Estella's father would believe me. I had deserted him, would be taken, would die accusing me. Even Herbert would doubt me, when he compared the letter I had left for him with the fact that I had called at Miss Havisham's gate for only a moment. Joe and Biddy would never know how sorry I had been that night. None would ever know what I had suffered, how true I had meant to be. What an agony I had passed through. The death close before me was terrible, but far more terrible than death was the dread of being misremembered after death. And so quick were my thoughts that I saw myself despised by unborn generations, Estella's children, and their lips, while the wretch's words were yet on his lips.
Now, Wolf, said he, afore I kill you like any other beast, which is what I mean to do, and what I have tied you up for, I'll have a good look at you, and a good goad at you. Oh, you enemy!
It had passed through my thoughts to cry out for help again, though few could know better than I the solitary nature of the spot and the hopelessness of aid. But as he sat gloating over me, I was supported by a scornful detestation of him that sealed my lips. Above all things, I resolved that I would not entreat him, and that I would die making some last poor resistance to him. Softened as my thoughts of all the rest of men were in that dire extremity, humbly beseeching pardon, as I did, of heaven, melted at heart, as I was, by the thought that I had taken no farewell, and never, never now could take farewell, of those who were dear to me, or could explain myself to them, or could ask for their compassion on my miserable errors. Still, if I could have killed him even in dying, I would have done it. He had been drinking, and his eyes were red and bloodshot. Round his neck was a slung tin bottle, as I had often seen his meat and drunk slung about him in other days. He brought the bottle to his lips and took a fiery drink from it. And I smelt the strong kiss. He'll flash into his face.
Wolf,
said he, folding his arms again.
Old Orlick's going to tell you something. It was as you did for your shrew sister.
Again, my mind, with its former inconceivable rapidity, had exhausted the whole subject of the attack upon my sister, her illness, and her death, before his slow and hesitating speech had formed these words.
It was you, villain,
said I.
I tell it was your doing.
Excuse me. The voices, I mean, I like the way that I said it there for Pip, but nevertheless.
It was you, villain,
said I. Should come across as a realization there. Continuing on.
I tell you it was your doing. I tell you it was done through you,
he retorted, catching up the gun and making a blow with the stock at the vacant air between us.
I come upon her from behind, as I come upon you tonight. I give it her. I left her for dead. And if there had been a lime kiln as nigh as there is now nigh you, she shouldn't have come to life again. But it warn't old Orlick as did it. It was you. You was favoured, and he was bullied and beat. Old Orlick bullied and beat, eh? Now you pays for it. You done it. Now you pays for it.
We'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe because it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.